Up and running, are we? Blank screen here. Who's in first? H. It gets to the point where where I'm feeling stalked. It's the same people every day watching. Hi, hi, hi. Good morning, guys. We have a blank screen here. Not really. Just a minute. Let me get things. Today's tools. The last few days I've been using my carving knife. Today, no. You saw me. You've seen me working on the block. The boys. I've carved the kimono and stuff like that. To prepare the tracing for this, what I did was I just scanned the original print into Photoshop. It looked pretty good. The colors were light. I took the colors out with Photoshop, turned it to grayscale, printed it out. I thought it was okay. Pasted it on the block and got going. The bucket okay, the kimono line's okay, but when it gets to the face and the hairs, I realized that the transfer I had made, working with Photoshop, taking the colors out automatically, there was too much blurred area in the face. I could do this. I could go ahead and do this, but the lines wouldn't be as clean and as nice and as sharp because I just can't see it. So I've put a pause on this. This is okay. We're going to move forward with this, but I've put a pause on the moment before I do the faces. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back a little bit to what I perhaps should have done for the whole print at the beginning. I'm going to, this morning, I've got my iPad on my desk. I've got a 1200 DPI scan of the faces pulled into my iPad, and we're going to trace all the hairlines here. When that's done, later this afternoon, I'll print it out, prepare another sheet, and carefully line it up and paste it onto the wood here so I can see the faces much more clearly. I should have done this back at the beginning, but I thought the Photoshop work was clean enough to do this, but there's just too many details. And I'm glad I did, because now that I see this here, let me see if I can pop it up here. Here we go. Now that I see this at enlargement, look at what you can see. There's not only hairs here, inside the hair mask, there are little zigzag hairs. They really went to town on this, and I couldn't even see these in the transfer that's already pasted on the block. So, I'm sorry, I'm just going back to what I should have done. Yeah, tracing. Today's tool is not a knife. Today's tool is, this is not the new camera setup that I was talking about trying. We've done this before. You've seen this when I was doing the tracing for the octopus. I did it all this way with a 3-camera setup. What you're seeing here, this is the camera from my laptop computer looking at me. Over on the other side here, the one to the right side, that's my camera up here, looking down on the bench at the iPad itself. The bottom half of the viewfinder you're seeing is the iPad sending a signal to the laptop, and the laptop is going to watch in real time as I draw this. It's almost real time. Let's just do a test here, for example. Let's pop up. I've already started this a few minutes ago. I started tracing some of this stuff. So let's see, if I just draw a sample line here for a minute, you can see what the delay is going to be. You can see real time up in the top right hand corner, up, down, up, down, up. Let's try drawing. And you see on the bottom screen it took, what, half a second to 1 second delay. The iPad is sending a signal to the laptop, which is drinking it in, sending it to the broadcast software. Anyway, let me get going on this. I know I've got some, like I said, I've already started doing this to get myself warmed up. There's a couple of interesting things popped up. Look at the right-hand side of your screen there. I can't roll my finger. See the part above his ear. Do you see where there's a big chunk taken out of the hairs? The guy, this is funny, he must have carved the hairs first, chuk, 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 and then he carved these vertical lines that are coming down. And his knife, when he got to the end of this one, he went just a bit too far, ka-chunk, and he sliced off 1, 2, 3, he sliced into 4 of those hairs. And he just left it. I mean, you get where we're going with this print, the one that I've scanned here. Where is it? This is the print. The head you're looking at is the head of the boy who is standing up. And the knife hit that you're talking about was the back of his head. I mean, nobody would ever have noticed it. Somewhere in there, there's a little slash on some of those hairs. I mean, come on, I didn't even notice it. I've been studying this print for weeks. Is it visible? Just a second, let's go. Yeah, there it is. You can see it. So, of course, he left it. He didn't fix it. I mean, it would have taken an hour or so to fix it. It just wasn't worth it, of course. But it's fun looking at these enlargements. You can see what kind of stuff comes in. My own prints too, they have these things, you know. Some of the stuff, even I did it the other day when I was carving part of this. My knife slipped and I went, oops. And I quickly moved on to another part of the block and I wondered, has anybody in the chat noticed that? And nobody popped up with any comments, so I guess nobody noticed it. This is what happens. There's a limit to how much you can spend, how much time you can spend doing these things. Okay, let me get to this. Change to my close-up glasses because I'm looking in analog real time here. Grab my brush. For those who are curious, the software we're using here is not Photoshop. I don't have Photoshop for the iPad. I've got a program called Pixelmator, which is a Photoshop clone. It does layers and all that sort of stuff. And it has some interesting brushes built into it. It's an Apple Pencil that I'm touching the screen with, but the brush I've used is what they call Manga brush. They have all kinds of different brushes available here, and it's the Manga brush that I'm using. Let me get to this here. It's been a while since I've done this, so I'm a bit rusty at this. So let's see. I may have to do an awful lot of erasing here as we go along. Try and get it where it's visible here. Nobody's reminded me about the paper yet, but it is out. It is out with a question mark. When I got to the freezer this morning, there's yellow dots on the door, and the yellow dots were only for one person, Ishikawa-san. Rei-chan and Suga-san are not here today, it's Sunday morning. But Ishikawa-san is here, and she had 2 yellow dots on the door. In the email last night, she sent me an email saying, Dave, don't forget, take my paper out. And she said, take out whatever, pack A and pack C. And I get to the fridge, and there is no pack C. There's pack A and pack B and pack D for her. So now what do? She's made a mistake in the email, or she's made a mistake on the fridge door. So whatever. So I took them all out, A, B, C, D for her. When she gets here, she can use the one she wants and push the rest back in. The cost of mistake is too high. So. Okay, let me get going on this. It's going to take me, I'm really rusty. I started warming up just a few minutes ago, but I am really rusty on this. So it's going to take me a while to get used to this. It's 2 stages. Let me do a few hairs and I'll show you what's going to go on here. Just a minute. You maybe see what's happening. The brush that they call Manga brush is fluctuating in size. It starts really thin, and as you move along, as you change the pressure and speed, the brush gets fatter. Oops, got off target there. Click undo. But there's no way I'm enough of a calligrapher to be able to match exactly those hairs. So let's pop up here that we're going to put a white layer in between. There's the original print, and I'm tracing in a separate layer on top of it. But in between them, I have put a white layer like this. So if I show the white layer, that is now going to hide the original for a minute, and it shows me just my tracing. And I can now see, look at this, it's thin, getting thicker. I need to adjust some of these lines. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer here. A perfect calligrapher could do this in one long stroke. That is not me. So we're going to paint these things into shape. And remember too, the scale we're talking about, they look one by one large here, but these are going to be microscopically small hairs. So there's a limit to how much time to spend on this and how much fooling around to do, adjusting and touching up every last little part of each one of these hairs, because they're going to be chop, 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 cut with a knife, of course. What really I need here is a general guide to the position and shape of each one of these things. They don't have to be shaved delicately, because that's what the knife is going to do. Conversation, conversation. Okay, check, check. Here we go. This is a wonderful tool, hauntingly wonderful tool. I wish I'd had this years ago when I was doing the Poet series. My God, the work would have been so much better. If I were an artist or somebody, illustrator drawing, my God, I'd be all over this tool. It's such a fantastic tool. This pencil and screen combination is so responsive. So if you've never tried this, you should just get to an Apple store, because my God, this thing is incredible. I can't imagine being an artist and not using this tool. It's so responsive. I'm surprised Chet hasn't got onto this. He's using some kind of, tablet, Wacom, I think he should have. Maybe it's one of those big screens that you draw on. I don't know. I don't know if he's ever tried this. I'm surprised he's not onto it. But, So why am I tracing this? Because it's much, much, much clearer. The result of doing this, you can see in a minute. If I pop this up now, what I will see on the block is these lines, clean, sharp, beautiful lines, and it will really, really help me. Without tracing this, we end up with fuzzy. It looks clean and clear at 1200 dpi, but believe me, well, you can see it. I tried it. I put the Photoshop one directly onto the block, and it's just nowhere near. There's just not enough resolution. It's not clean and sharp. The hairs here I could fake, because I can just cut them one by one. But the eyes and lips, there's nowhere near enough definition in the Photoshop scan pasted down. The lips are just blurred. So the hairs I could fake, chop. But the eyes and lips I couldn't. So we'll just do the face all again. We'll get a clear, perfectly sharp, totally sharp scan, drawing, and paste that down. Well, Jed uses a brush. Jed uses both. He's probably here today. He'll drop in. What Jed does is he does composition and layout on a screen with mechanical stuff. And then for the important prints, the larger important prints, he then does the brushwork in physical analog stuff on paper, scans it down and sends it to me. So Jed uses different tools all the time. I think the prints we're doing this year, the subscription prints, they I believe are not brushed by hand. Oops, what am I doing here? But all our larger prints, the Ukiyo-e Heroes prints and the Sushi Cats prints, stuff like that, Jed actually inks, draws each one of those with an actual brush pen on paper, of course. There's a new one coming. I don't know, he may have already Instagrammed this, so perhaps you guys have already seen it before I saw it. But the Sushi Cats series, we were projecting 3 prints in the series to start with: Sushi Cats, Ramen Cats, and Sake Cats. And it's morphed a little bit. Jed has got the 3rd print ready now. Sushi Cats is already carved. The blocks are upstairs waiting for test printing. Ramen Cats, we're carving the color blocks as I speak. And now the 3rd one has morphed a little bit. Instead of Sake Cats, it's going to be Hanami Cats. And as I said, Jed has probably already posted it to Instagram, so if you go and check his page over there, you'll see it. And that's where we'll call the series at the moment. We'll get those 3 prints published and out there before we start thinking about any more. We'll see how the market goes, what interest there is from people, and also what kind of production expenses I get involved in making the actual things. And then maybe we'll think about doing more in the series. We'll see how it goes. But at the moment, the first 3 are now set, and production is in process on all 3 of them. Has he Instagrammed it? Is it over there? The question about what it would have been like back in the Edo time if they'd had these tools, it's sort of an obvious thing. You know, back in the Edo period, all of this was just the printing business. And their number one factor was simply how to publish stuff for as reasonable a price as possible. It was a market. When things became too expensive, people couldn't buy them. So the point was how to get stuff into the market as inexpensively as possible. It was a normal market-driven situation. So any tools and technology, whatever was available, is what would have been used and what was used, of course. There's no mystery about any of this. The people back then doing these prints were not making art. They were in the printing business, and they did use whatever technology was available to them, as a matter of course. So there's no mystery, there's no question. They would have used whatever was available to publish material as beautifully and as cheaply as possible. Now somewhere along here these curves change. On the right hand side above his eyelash here, the curves are curving this way, and over the top of his brow the curves are curving the other way. So I'm just about at the switch point here. This guy has curved. This one here, this next one is indeterminate. It's sort of curved to the right. We'll make it a bit straight. This one's straight, doesn't quite match. And from here on in, they've got a slight curve. Oops, undo. And from here on the curve is quite pronounced. Let's call it the data just for not get this sort of uneven, very uneven. Look at that way they switch over. Just not on Insta yet. It's okay, it's okay. That's funny. He usually puts them up there even sometimes before he shows it to me. So I don't know. Okay, not bad. Let's see. Missing conversation here. I'm not really sure. Can't catch everything. Yeah, the question of how much of this can be automated. You know, every time we do this, a Photoshop guru comes on and says, Dave, you can do this totally automatically. I've tried, and there's really too many levels of indeterminate gray here. You know, I've tried, of course, pulling out colors automatically. Even this hair mask right here, for example, it varies everywhere from white to dark to everything in between. Pulling it out with Photoshop just simply hasn't worked for me. There's too many places that are indeterminate. It's not clear. Is it in? Is it out? I've learned that, at least at the current level of my ability to use these softwares, it's just much better to trace it. I get the clean, sharp line, and there's a double advantage here. I learn about this print as I do this. As I said a few minutes ago, I found this mistake portion here. I learn the ins and outs of these prints. it helps me get to be a better carver by seeing all the way these people had carved. You know, it's not a bug. It's a feature. Doing this by hand, tracing this by hand. You know, it's going to take me a couple of hours. It's a couple of hours of my life that is spent in peaceful, pleasant work, and I'm learning while I'm doing it. And to develop a piece of software that will do it in one click, whatever. There's the time and a place for that, and there's a time and a place to just sit and draw. So I get it. I understand this. A lot of this perhaps could be automated, although I suspect not quite as simply as the people watching think so. And when we did the Great Wave print, this conversation came up all the time, and absolutely that was impossible. There was black, there was dark blue, there was medium blue, there was intermediate blue, there were weakly printed places, strong printed places, and it all had to be sorted out visually, one by one by one. At some point, the AI software is going to be able to do this, that's fine, but at the moment, no. And there's even decisions, like right there. Look, I don't know if you can see it, but the one I'm doing right now, this second hair up from the bottom is misplaced. I don't know if you can see it. Can I expand a little bit here? I'm doing these row hairs. The second hair up from the bottom is misplaced. Look, if I do it exactly where it is, this is where the hair is. That's not right. It should be right here, halfway between those other two hairs. And there's no software on the planet, at least not until they get as good as human brains about, you know, learning stuff. So I'm going to make those three hairs 1, 2, 3 equidistant. It's too blurry at that scale. Let me get that. So yeah, software. Photoshop. I'm sure there are many people with far better Photoshop skills than me. But I'm not sure that the software can understand what I want. So anyway, long story short, I don't mind doing it by hand. As I said, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Can't get up the top, so I'm going to have to move it on the screen here. Does it bother me when fans come to visit and hang around a lot? Whatever, it's a shop. People come in, you know. I know if you talk to me too much and it looks like I'm getting a bit edgy and trying to get some work done, then leave me alone. But whatever, it's a shop. Now, you know, I've learned obviously now that my more productive hours are the hours like these ones before the shop opens and after the shop closes. That's when I actually get work done. Because of what we've done by opening a shop, we know that, you know, those hours of the day from around 10 in the morning until evening get eaten up. That's the way it is, you know. Now the broken part, of course, we'll fix it. Of course, I'm not going to chop mine up. There's a hair that goes right through this piece here. Also, too, these vertical lines coming in that you see here, this is from the person standing behind the boy, and they don't appear in my print, so there's certainly no reason to duplicate the break. Young Shimoy-san, the boy who's done his own version of the octopus print, you know, as we saw when we looked at his print the other day, he has reproduced the breaks and chips and pops in the original version that he's looking at. And I'm not, I don't think that's a thing to do. You know. He's trying to make a replica, I guess is what you would call it. Replica including copying the bad parts as well as the good parts. You know. If only there was something else to do in this Hakusai, yeah, right. I had a real nice dinner last night. Ate too much, actually. There's a bit of a boom. The local cafes and restaurants, maybe it's not just local here around here, but many of the cafes and restaurants here have caught on to the idea of serving a roast beef donburi. I don't know if you know donburi. Donburi is sort of a larger bowl that's got rice at the bottom, and then maybe it's got like a pork cutlet on top, or chicken and egg, or whatever. There's different kinds. There's oyakodon, which is egg and chicken donburi, and oyako means mother-child, so egg and chicken mixed together. Then the famous one is katsudon, a pork cutlet. But recently, the restaurants around here have been all making the same thing exactly. They're copying each other, and they're making a roast beef don. So it's slices of roast beef with a nice gravy put on top of rice, roast beef donburi. It's an abomination as far as classical Japanese cuisine is concerned. And there must be people, Japanese people, who think, oh my God, what's the world coming to? But I don't care. It takes me back. If my mother's listening, she'll remember Sunday nights used to be roast beef night. It's a British family. My parents were born. I was born in Britain, and we followed at least that one British tradition of Sunday night was roast beef. It was roast beef, not boiled potatoes, baked potatoes, right? Broiled under the grill, and then a couple of vegetables. And so all these restaurants here are serving roast beef don, and it's like, oh my God, it's taking me back in time 60 years, you know. And some of them have done it nicely. There's a nice bit of horseradish, and it's a bit of pink. They've done it nicely, you know. And you can clearly see the way they copy each other. You know, one restaurant on one corner starts it, they do this, then they put a dash of, what's the word? Not whipped cream, not cream cheese. It's a white cream There's the roast beef, there's a bit of horseradish at the side, then there's a bit of white cream on top. I'm not quite sure what kind of cream it would be. And a week later, the restaurant next to it starts the same thing. I don't know how they watch the same TV cooking shows or something, or whatever, I don't know. This kid's got long hair behind his ears, he needs a haircut. I should get the machine programmed so that when I say the word oops, it automatically doesn't undo. That would be cool. Okay, there's that group. This is coming nicely, I'm happy with this. You see the same brushstroke now. It starts as a tiny hair, and the longer you go and the harder you press, it just gets fatter and fatter and fatter. Okay, there's that area. What are we missing here? That hair's done, that hair's done. Oh yeah, down here. Oops. Hey. Oh, my mother's here. Good, good, good. What's this? London until he was 4. Is that answering a question? Where did I grow up or whatever? Hi, hi. Leytonstone, Soka, Soka. I know my mother's talking about the place we lived in, Leytonstone, and now I don't have it on this computer, so I can't link to it here. I know we were Googling one day when I was with her visiting or something. We went to Google Earth or whatever it's called, and maps, and we were browsing all the streets we lived in, and we went to Leytonstone. What was it? I forget the name of the street. My mother would know the street address. She told me the street address we used to live in. We Googled it, and bottom up it comes, and the house is just right there. And she's like, there's the window, and the house looks pretty much the same. It's clean and neat, but the same house on the same street is still there. And we got a subscription a while back. It's 3 or 4 years back. A subscription came in for one of the portraits prints or something from somebody in that area. And I looked it up on Google, and he was like 2 blocks away from the house I used to live in, well, up till I was 4 years old, you know. So I replied to this, thanks for the subscription. By the way, you're a neighbor, you know. We're neighbors separated by time. So. Our family lived in so many houses over the years. It was basically every 2 years we moved. Those years we were in Canada. Every 2 years we moved to a different neighborhood or a different city, one or the other. So we've got all these old addresses. I could look up all the old houses we used to live in. There's dozens of them, you know. Up until I came to Japan, I never, ever, ever stayed in the same place longer than a couple of years. Off camera, sorry. Just, yeah, those years that we lived in Leytonstone, as Mum posted there, the job my dad had, in the earlier years, just before I was born, in the late 40s and early 50s, Dad was playing with a band that was mobile. They played dance halls all over Britain. So they would play a dance hall in some town, get on the bus in the morning, get on their own band bus, drive to the next town, play another dance that evening or whatever. But I think after I came along, must be early 50s, 51 or somewhere around there, the band changed their system and they got a residency. And as Mum says, they played at the Lyceum Ballroom. It was on Leicester Square, I think, in London. And they had a residency there for a number of years in the early 1950s. It would be maybe 1952, 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there. Until it all collapsed when rock and roll came in. I think about 1956 or 57 it came to an end. It was a big deal. My dad himself wasn't a rock star because his name himself wasn't famous. But the band he was a member of, the Oscar Rabin Band, was one of the top flight bands. They were on BBC, every few days. They were a known band. And like I said, he wasn't a rock star, but the band was popular. So my mother was kind of a groupie. She's married to this famous musician. Saxophone player. It was before guitars and stuff, and the young man playing the saxophone, he was, wow, look at that handsome guy up there. Yeah. Someone's asking about the glue for affixing the Hansta to the block, and be careful, you don't want a super strong glue for that job. You've seen me use 2 different kinds of glue. For our Hansta pasting on the wood, when it's wide areas for color blocks, we use a soft glue. You don't want any remnants of glue left on the block once you start printing. And for the key block, when I'm finished tracing this, I'm going to paste this down with a fairly strong glue. I'll use the white wood glue diluted with water. But the dangerous point is if you use a glue that's too strong and it stays on the wood for too long, it sinks into the surface, the glue. And later you have trouble in the printing because the glue is forming a kind of a protective layer on the wood. So if you're not sure what to do, start by using weaker glues. Don't use a glue that's too strong to paste this stuff down, because the potential of disaster is much worse than having the paper come loose. I mean, you don't need wood-to-wood bond strength. You're talking about a piece of paper stuck on the surface of a piece of wood, so you don't need a whole lot of strength. So if you're going to make an error in the sense of using a glue that's too weak. Don't overdo it. This brush is so sensitive. I'll keep quiet here while that conversation goes on. Maybe I'll learn something here. Okay, there's the shape. Oh, one more. Shape of the face. Then we got to get there. There's one more here. Oops. Okay, that was the easy part. Now the face. Where am I here? I'm in the middle of the screen. Not bad, can I? How am I broadcasting the close-up of the iPad screen? The iPad is running screen mirroring. If I just turn this on for a sec, there's a section here which allows the iPad to do what's called, I don't know, it's when they send it to Apple TV or something. And I have a piece of software running on the iMac, my laptop. It's called Lonely Screen. It's a piece of shareware. It runs on the not the iPad, get my words right. On the laptop, there's a piece of software called Lonely Screen, which just simply does screen sharing back and forth over Wi-Fi. The iPad thinks it's sending to an Apple TV. It's built into an iPad. You can sit and browse the web and show it on your Apple TV at the other side of the room. So the iPad thinks it's sending to Apple TV, but it's being picked up by Lonely Screen on the iMac, the laptop. That is showing there's a window, which you can't see here, there's a window on the same monitor that I'm using here, and the broadcast software is picking up that window at the bottom one half of the screen you're seeing. Complicated, I'm sorry. Top left of your screen, you're seeing the camera built into the laptop. Top right hand side of your screen, you're seeing the feed from this video camera, which is looking down at the iPad. The bottom half of your screen, the iPad is throwing a signal out on Wi-Fi, being picked up by the laptop by the software called Lonely Screen, which is showing it in a window, and that's being picked up by the broadcast software and sent out. So that's why you see a little bit of a delay, not here on my screen, but you see a little bit of a delay on the bottom screen here. Long story short, I always end up spending 10 minutes explaining something that could be done in one sentence, but whatever. What's the temperature of here? I don't know. I'm indoors, we've got the heater on. Outside it's cold. It was a chilly morning. No idea. It's a bit of a cold snap in Tokyo the last couple of days. Pretty much same as everywhere, I think. And they were forecasting snow for last night, but I don't see any snow out here. So maybe in the outside areas of Tokyo. Maybe over by where my home is in Ome, there's snow out there perhaps. I don't know. At the moment in Tokyo, it's cold and clear. There's quite a delay there sometimes. It seems to jump. お石川ちょっと待って石川さん。ちょっと確認ですが、メールの中に JJ サブスクリプション3月分出してください。
そうそう。
冷凍庫の中に3月。
2月っていうシール貼ってありましたね、まだね。いいです、いいです。
じゃあその袋。じゃあ両方取ったんですから、
ありがとうございます。
間違いが大変ですから。行為とサブスクリプション出して。そう。2月が書いてありますから。そう。What am I doing? I don't know. はい、
ありがとうございます。
Thank you. You say hello?
はい。まだやってんの？
やってますよ。ここから。ここで、ちょっとごめんなさい。
はい。
いいですか？ This is 石川さん。She's printing the second subscription to show the ski picture.
そう。あれ終わりました。はい、あとで持ってきます。
多分 many of these people are waiting for this print.
本当？何やってんですか？
この次の作品のお模範ですが、
美のなんとか？
そう、日本の美術ですが、顔がちょっと見えないですから、じゃあもうちょっと戻って、トレース。
そうなんだ。
すごい。
それね、いいね。
そう。
はい、じゃあ。
Thank you。石川さんだけですの、今日、すぐさんとレイちゃんのシールがなかった。
そうですね。
そう。
はい。
She's been with us now for, I don't know, somewhere maybe, she was in Ome before we started the Saksa, 6 years, I guess, started from pretty much zero. She came to us, she was going to Asuka Sensei's little workshop to learn a little bit about carving. She was a hobby printmaker. She's making her own hobby print. She makes her own hobby print still. She's on Instagram by herself. But she came to us about 6 years ago or so, wanted some sort of practice work to do just to help get better at this. I mean, she's not a professional craftsman, she's a housewife. But my God, she's got good at this. And she's interested in doing, her own pride. I want to make hundreds of prints, bang, 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 bang. And she's doing really well. She can't do large scale prints, Oban-sized prints. And she hasn't done much work in the Shinhag stuff with us. So she's really this year going to be learning a ton of stuff from this. She did all the subscription prints last year by herself. All the Legendary Loot series, she did all by herself. 200 of each one every month, away. She's really proud of this. What other housewife in town can do this professional work at a professional level, get paid for it, and still run her home at home, She's got a family, kids and stuff, So it's great, and she's doing really well, So came to the day and stayed 6 years, that's right. And it's not dedication, it's just that, it's a mix of different stuff. She knows the good prints from the old days. She sees them. Oh my God, I'd like to do stuff like that. The same motivation that I have. And she's stuck with it. And her family situation, her kids, her one daughter is old enough that they can pretty much take care of themselves. So she's got the time to do this. And the desire to get good at it. And she wouldn't admit to it, but a bit of pride. Look what I made. She doesn't say that, but it's in there, The only downside from my point of view is that she's not here full time. She does 3 days a week, sometimes 4. I would like, a printing machine to be here all day, every day, printing tons and tons of prints. We need some more printing machines here. Printing machines. And she doesn't have that kind of desire or stamina to do that. But no downside. It's fine. This is wonderful. Okay, let's get this mouth done. This is not drawn very well. It's a pretty clumsy mouth, and I think for the most part I just better stick with what I see rather than try and redraw it, because I'll just get in more trouble. This is not clear. This line at the top of the mouth should really flow more smoothly, but it doesn't, and I don't know. I think we'll just copy what we've got here. It's not elegant drawing, but it's not my place to try and fix this drawing-wise. Again, it'll be so small in the finished print that all we need is something that looks roughly like a mouth. That's okay. But if I had had more time and whatever on this, we could have maybe gone back to the original large size Oban print to see what kind of a shape this mouth had originally when they carved the print at large size. I think it looks like a mouth. That's it. Good, good, good. A bit more taste on the tongue, I think, maybe. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Where's the eyes? This is also unclear. Where are the eyeballs? His right eye is a bit clear. His left eye is blotted in. Let's try some different things here. Let's just first get the outlines of this stuff. What's up with a line perpendicular to the others? I'm not sure what you're talking about. In the mouth there? Not sure what you're asking. The line perpendicular to the others. I'm sorry. In the mouth, there is no line. You mean, no, I can't show you. No, what you're seeing there is a bit of, in the mouth, there's the perpendicular black dots, 3 dots, don, don, don. That's an example of, there's a hard spot in the paper there. And as the guy printed, we're looking at such a magnification here. The hard spot in the paper showed a thicker black line than the areas nearby it. This is another part of the reason why we can't do this extraction by Photoshop. If you're doing extraction by Photoshop, you pick up all the parts that shouldn't be there, you know. Okay, let's get back to this eye. This is tough. Let's see. Typically, eyes have thin bottom line, typically, eh? And they have a larger, thicker top curve, ukiyo-e eyes. And there is a, I forget the scientific name for it, the dot at the corner of your eye. This stuff doesn't match up. And then we've got to figure out where's the eyeball. It seems, let's just test this first. This may not be working the first time. It seems to be about there. Let's leave it there for a minute. Go do the other one. See if we can make a matching pair. Just hang on a second. Now this one's all blurred, and what we're seeing here, that when the guy printed this, this is such a small scale, and this left-hand eye, there's ink down in the corner of it, and there's almost no way to extract what was really carved. Actually, what they might have done, it might be, let's just a minute, let's hold off what we did on the other eye here. What they might have done, I think, rather than put eyeballs in, let's see here, just a sec. I think what they might have done, let me just erase what I did there for a sec. I think what it might be is, they might have done this. Let's just test this here, see what it looks like. Oops. That brush goes wild. They might have just done an eye at the bottom half of each eye. It sort of looks like glasses. This might be what they did, I think. See what I'm getting at? Instead of a simple round eyeball, let's see. It's really, really hard to tell. The kid's left eye seems to be what I just drew at the bottom, you know, a stretched out iris looking down. But his right eye seems to be more of the circular one. There's no way I'm going to do them different. But the printer maybe used a bit too much pressure. There's a bit too much of a blob in there. I'm guessing we're looking at something like this, I think. There's no way to tell. Oops, I might erase paint. So I'm thinking it's something like this. That's my best guess on this. Okay, there we have it. There's one face. This is what I should have done before I started carving last week. Where's the other one? Here we go. Gotta do it all over again. What time is it? 9:23. We're out of time. Look at that. Okay. So I guess we'll stick there. You can see what's happening on the other one. It's the same thing going to happen. You can see up in the middle of his hair, there really is actually structure to this. Before we couldn't even see this. We were just guessing what kind of white blobs were in the hair. But they have actually, the designer and carver have actually worked together to make structure for this hair. The kid's got a top knot. There's a round part in front of, over above his forehead, and there's a top knot here. And this one's going to be fun. There's actually hair. Come on, follow iPad. There's hair surrounding his face. I've never seen this in an ukiyo-e print before. Horizontal hair surrounding his face. That's going to be fun. Okay, so where are we? It's on a Sunday morning here. We're at the end of our time. Where will I be doing and what will I be doing on this? Today's Sunday. There's another sick call in this morning for the shop. There's 2 sick calls in, one for a printer upstairs and one for down here. So I'm on shop duty today. I don't have time to fool around with this. And as I mentioned yesterday, I have a sizing job approaching. I can either do it tonight or tomorrow morning or perhaps Tuesday morning. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you'll be seeing tomorrow here. I might be doing this second head here tomorrow, same time, same station. Or I might have printed it out by then and I'll be carving this tomorrow. I'm not sure. It's possible I'll be upstairs doing a sizing job, or as always, something else is coming along that I haven't even seen yet. So I don't know. But it's Sunday here. I'll be back same time, same station tomorrow morning with another stream. This one's been a bit quiet today. Thanks for, I've seen some conversation going on here. Thanks very much. The eyes of the other boy, they are clear. The boy's left-hand eye, the one you're seeing here, you can see clearly now there's a full iris and there's no mud around it. His right eye is a bit more blurred, right? You can see it below my head here. So I'll trace what I pretty much see on the left eye and I'll try and copy the right eye to make something match it. His mouth also is a little bit clear. There's no specific tongue in there. We've got a top lip and a bottom open lip. So this one's actually going to be easier than the other boy you just saw just now. Anyway, that's the way it's going. So, as I said, I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same station. Not quite sure which job it'll be. And we've got coming closer. This is not fair to tease you about it, but I mentioned the other day, we have the alternative camera view coming up soon. The microscope I have is a binaural microscope. We have also upstairs in storage a trinaural microscope that has a camera attachment. I have ordered some parts to get it going. There's a lens to screw in at the bottom. There's a camera attachment to put my Canon camera on top. And yesterday afternoon, we received another video interface box. So we have all the parts assembling over the weekend to try the experiment with the microscope looking down through. And when I'm carving this face, hopefully you'll be able to share the same view as I do. If we can get all the software patched together to make it work. Okay, that's enough. Thanks very much. See you tomorrow. I'm going to have a nice day, peaceful day in the shop here today. Bye-bye for now. See you later. What should I do? Switch off this one, I guess. Lonely screen. There you go. Anyway, you see what's going on. Thanks for now. See you next time. Bye-bye, guys.